Hey, what up? Welcome to the Dope Souls Collective podcast, where dope souls can vibe, connect, heal, and grow because dope souls go through real shit. This podcast was created to nurture, support, and educate survivors and growth-oriented people. And without further ado, I give you your host. She's a transformational life coach, a mental health coach with a master's of psychology. She's also a couples and healthy sexuality coach. And I can't forget to mention she's my dope-ass friend. This is Ramani Malco presenting to you the host and founder of the Dope Souls Collective podcast, the one and only Trisheana Hunter.
What is up, Dope Souls? I am so glad and so fortunate to have my good friend, dopest soul in the universe, as far as I'm concerned.
It's big. That's a lot to live up to.
Mr. TJ Supa, Radio Supa. The Supa doesn't begin to define this gentleman and all the shit that he does. Because he goes every day. There's an event every day that's national and international. And I think he runs like 30 radio shows. And hosts the dopest guest imaginable. I don't even know. There's too much. Like there's too much to say about him to even list it all. But I want to introduce to the collective,
right?
Radio Supa owner, TJ Supa Dupa. And I can't do all the fancy stuff that he does because I just don't have those skills. But
Trish is great. I'm glad to be here, Trish. Just like I said, I've been waiting to get on your show for so long. You know what I mean? And finally, I'm able to, be a guest on the show. And I don't know how many letters I've sent to PR team over there at Dope Souls Collective. And, finally, after I greased some palms, I was able to get through and get on the air. I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to be here.
On about that because you should have been here. I think
right.
The PR team might drink. I'm sorry.
Is that what it is? The PR team drinks. That's possible, I guess. That's possible.
No, seriously, you do.
Yeah.
No shit. I get tired watching you. I get tired literally watching all the shit that you do and all the things that you host and promote and all the events that you go to. Yeah. But okay, let's start here. I always start here.
Right.
Who is TJ Supa? Who are you?
Who is TJ Supa?
No, you are.
Who is TJ Supa? TJ Supa is a lot of things in here. TJ Supa is a radio show host. TJ Supa is an industry veteran, a radio station owner, a music video show host, an artist manager, an MC, a father, a preacher. So many different things in here. You know what I'm saying? I'm forgetting things. I'm forgetting stuff. You know what I mean? But there's a lot of different things in here. You know what I mean? But those are the things that came to mind when you asked me who TJ Supa was.
And dope ass friend, no doubt.
Yeah, I hope to be. I strive to be. As real as possible. I always imagine my life as at the end of my life, I'm going to be in a courtroom with God and he's going to ask me, well, TJ, why did you do this? And why did you do this? And I really want to be able to have good answers to as many of the questions as I can have. You know what I mean? So I try to live my life in a way that I'm able to have good answers to at least most of the questions.
And you do a very good job of it. If it's okay, can we talk about Radio Supa? Because I know it, but I like the magnitude of it is pretty extensive and far reaching. Tell me about how that manifested.
It's for where Radio Supa is right now, it's big. It's not only the station that's been running for 13 years. I know you speak to a worldwide audience, so I don't really focus on the region that I'm in because that doesn't really mean anything. You know what I mean? But we've been on the air we're in our 14th year actually now. We just crossed 13th year. So we're in our 14th year now. And it's amazing. There's about 16 shows that run on the station every week. Outside of that, there's music that airs 24/7. The different shows do different things. They might have different guests on them, or they might have, DJs who might do play sets or mixes or something like that. And then there's my own show, which has also been running, just about as long as the station has been running. And my show is syndicated now. So it not only plays on Radio Supa, my station, but it also plays on 94 other radio stations scattered across the world. You know what I mean? So the show literally is playing. It's in so many places that I can't really, I know how many because that's how many I send it out to, but it's really difficult to keep track because some of them put it in different places and stuff like that. So the show's amazing. Over the last 3 years, we've really been more celebrity focused. So what I strive for was we want to do a celebrity, or at least as close as we can get to one every single week, and we've been fairly consistent with that. We've had amazing guests on, guests that are on my checklist for life guests.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You understand that, you know what I mean? But it's been beautiful. The show is playing every single day somewhere throughout the day in crazy places like Portugal and in Switzerland and really, crazy places, the UK. So everything in terms of what's happening with Radio Supa is big. You know what I mean? And then, if you think, the magnitude on just that one thing in terms of what's happening with the show, that really gives me a lot of leverage in terms of doing things that, that come with this territory. Like if I play someone's song, it ultimately plays 95 times if I play it once. You know what I mean? And then it ultimately plays 95 times on different stations with different levels of listeners.
You're the plug.
Yeah. So, so there's a lot going on, and keep in mind that's just Radio Supa. There's still a lot of other things I do. I think there's some things we'll discuss tonight that I hadn't even discussed with you. You know what I mean? But yeah, that's what's happening with Radio Supa. I say that, I always make the joke that it plays so much that when I'm on the air doing my live show every week, the last week's show is playing at the exact same time on another station. Yeah.
The crazy thing is for those of y'all that don't get to know TJ the way I do, he still acts and carries himself like your local rapper. Down to earth and kind and genuine and loving, as you could ever want any human being to be. If you met TJ, you would never ever think that he is as massive as he is, because he carries this humility and humanity with him that is just so beautiful.
Thank you. Again, glad to be here.
So you mentioned there's like tons of other things. What?
Yeah, there's tons of other things. Offhand, there's a music video show that I do, Rock the Mic Show. You were a guest on the Rock the Mic Show.
I was fortunate to be he made me cry on the Rock the Mic Show.
Did I make you cry on the Rock the Mic? It was a really good episode. Oh, it was the fish. That's what it was. It was the goldfish commercial. You felt bad about the goldfish. Poor guy. We were just trying to get him ready for the Christmas season, but he's okay. He survived the holidays.
Not okay. The fish is dead.
He survived the holidays, I think. So the Rock the Mic Show, music video show, it's airing on about 10 different digital channels right now. It's a beautiful situation. That show is good. That show, came, based off of my thoughts about when we were younger and we had shows like Yo MTV Raps or Big Tigger, or, you know what I'm saying? When we had those shows, I didn't feel like there were any of those airing at this time. You know what I mean? And that's the thought process that came behind why I created that show. The actual creation is a whole different story, but the thought process behind that was that, you know what I mean? It was that. And going into other things, I'm doing a lot of work. Probably, I'd say right now, a little behind the scenes, a little not behind the scenes. I'm doing some work with a few artists, just moving some pieces around, just because it's, the word that comes to mind, and I hate to throw it out there, but it's almost easy just because of all the other pieces that are constantly moving. Just like I said, like if I have an artist, it's easy to play the song one time and it's played 95 stations. You know what I'm saying? It's not, yeah. You know what I'm saying? So that's going on. There's a film project that I'm working on right now, which I don't want to go into too much detail because I'm under NDA for it, but I'm expecting the film to come out this year. This is the first time I'm actually saying the name of the film in an interview. This is the first time ever. The name of the film is Prankster, and I don't want to go into too much detail on it, but I'm the music supervisor on the film, and I've provided a lot of music in terms of scoring and adding music to the film. I mean, I have a history in film scoring from years and years ago, so it was beautiful to kind of get back into it with this project. And project's almost done. I'd say about 85% complete. So, and I do expect the project to be out on some streaming platform this year. So you guys will know more about it as it comes. Again, I'm under NDA, so I can't go too deep into the project. But this is, again, the first time I've ever said the name of it on
because you brought it to me, the collective. This is it.
I brought it to the collective. This is the first time I've said it on the collective, right here, anywhere. This is the first time I said the name of the film. So that's there. I'm also
Prankster, correct? That's what I'm looking for.
Prankster's the name of it. I am also just because there's been a lot of action in terms of I was on the cover of OTH magazine a couple of months ago.
I have an autographed copy. Y'all should get one.
You do have an autographed copy. OTH magazine, man. So big shout out to my OTH family. But I am now a contributing writer for OTH magazine. So now I supply content for the magazine every month. I'm also a content provider for Mixoplex magazine, where I provide celebrity content for them on every issue. So that's happening also. And then there's probably another 2 magazines that are floating around that I don't want to mention their names because there hasn't been anything secured, but I likely will be doing work with another 2 national magazines also. So yeah, so that's across the board. Those are the regular things that happen all the time.
Regular. No.
All those are the regular.
I know
things
you
that
like
happen
a decade, and I'm still sitting here going.
Yeah. Those are, it's Thursday, so those are the Thursday things right there.
The Thursday.
Those are the Thursday things. You know what I mean? Those are Thursday. So that's what that is, man. So but it's great. And then just like I said, there's always some extra thing popping up. I might have an event that I'm doing some judging at. It could be whatever. It could be moving something for an artist, popping up in a music video. It is a regular. It's Thursday. It's a good Thursday. Today's a good Thursday.
And he's also an awesome curator. He's made me several amazing playlists. His music knowledge is insane.
I listened to a couple of CDs when I was younger.
Just a few.
Few CDs. Yeah, about that much. About that many CDs. You know what I'm saying?
I think I passed my collection down to my soon-to-be 12-year-old, and she's looking at it like, oh, wait.
Right. It's a lot to take in.
It's a lot.
Right. It's a lot to take in. Right.
So
yeah, that's me. That's what I'm working on real quick in a nutshell. You know what I mean? I might have forgot some things.
A bunch of major things. They're not small. There's nothing regular.
Yeah.
Nothing regular about you.
When you say it like that, yeah, I don't disagree with you.
You do nothing but dope hot shit. And for the record, TJ never sleeps. I don't understand it.
Yeah. I mean,
wait, you did all this as pretty close to a single dad, or were you a single dad? Because you have this really dope soul that you raised.
Yeah. I was a single dad doing all this stuff. And you understand, single dad doing all this stuff. Moms are gone or away or not available or something like that. For the most part, working, opening, the businesses, going to school at the same time. We've had conversations about that, definitely.
That's your doctorate too, didn't you? Or weren't you in doctoral school?
Okay, so this is where I'm at right now. This is where I'm at with doctoral school. There was a bachelor's degree. I want to say let me get the positives out the way first before we get to the doctoral situation. Okay. There was a bachelor's degree, then there was a master's degree in leadership, big salute. And then now I'm at the edge of I'm at dissertation stage on a doctorate, to where if I choose to finish my doctorate, then I would have to jump through some loops to get that done, just because the last 2 years are crazy. Or I can just shift that over and just do 2 classes and get a double master's. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. It'll be one of the two. It'll be one of the two.
But you kind of left a piece of that out, which I think is a part of your story that really matters.
I may have.
Because in the middle of your doctorate, you hit a pretty significant health snag.
I did.
Personally scared the shit out of me.
Oh, interesting. So this is good. And again, you know what? This is the first time I'm having this conversation in an interview at all. So you're getting a lot of firsts today.
I am honored.
I'm saying? You're getting a lot of firsts today. Yes, I did. So, I've had like health issues, throughout the course of time, but nothing that I would consider that I would allow to stop me from, landing on whatever I'm going to land on. But a couple of years ago, I kind of went into kidney failure. And, it was, I guess, a fast, I guess what I consider fast, because it seemed to happen within a year of starting. Like, it started at a certain point and then it seemed to just kind of degrade within a year. But it put me on dialysis until I transplant, until I get a kidney transplant. It's not a story that I really ever put out. It's not a story that I really ever talked openly about. You know what I mean? It's just because, one, I guess when you look at Michael Jackson, you know what I mean? And you think of him, you think of Michael Jackson as, he can fly, you know what I'm saying? And it wasn't until after Michael passed that I figured out, wait a second, he has vitiligo, which was that disease that kind of, causes you to lose the pigmentation. So where everybody thought he bleached his skin, it was actually him dealing with a disease that he had, you know what I mean? But because he's Michael, it's not like he can just openly air that information. You know what I mean? And for where I was at with what happened with me, I was like, okay, wait a second. So I'm going to have to deal with this situation. I'm going to go into dialysis. This is going to take a chunk of time away from the work that I do every week until I transplant. Usually transplant list is about a 3 to 5 year waiting list. You know what I mean? So in essence, I could be in this situation where three days a week for 4 hours a day, I have to go to a dialysis center to get my blood clean, in essence, what the kidney would be doing for me if it was working. But since it's not working, that's what I have to do. So that's 3 days a week, basically 4 hours a day. This is outside of regular work, outside of whatever's happening, outside of whatever projects are going on and everything like that. So that occurred. And now keep in mind, all the stuff we talked about that's happening with the radio and all that other stuff, all that's happening at the same time.
At full speed.
At the same time. So I've been on dialysis now for over 2 years, just over 2 years. So all of these things I'm doing while at the same time on dialysis. You know what I mean? And you know, I've always you know, I try to make sure that when I work, it was nothing that I wanted to just openly broadcast. You know, and I would have family members come to me like, yo, TJ, like, if you broadcast this information, like, somebody will give you a kidney. And for me, I took it as, you know, there's things that you're going to walk through. You know, there's things that God is going to have you walk through. You know what I mean? And for me, this was a situation that there wasn't a way around it. It was something that I was going to have to walk through, you know, and I've been able to get to a spiritual place that, you know, when, you know, if God tells me, yo, this is what you're going to have to walk through, then I'm at a place where I'm mature enough to not try to get out of it, but to try to walk through it. So in terms of this situation, I could have went on Facebook or went on my social media and said, hey, you know what? I need a kidney. I need a kidney. I need a kidney. I probably could have done that. And I'm sure I would have been successful at receiving one a long time ago. Right. But for me, I wanted to walk through the difficult part and deal with the difficult part, because he still allowed me to be able to get up, to work, to do the things I need to do, not even just do the things, but actually overcome and be extremely successful while still carrying the burden of organ failure, basically. You know what I mean? So I didn't run from it. I didn't announce it. And also, you know, if there were people out there, which I don't really think there are at this point, maybe in the beginning, if there were people out there that would have thought that this would have taken me out, then I would not have wanted anyone to ever believe that I was going to stop with the wins. Yeah. Like, the wins are going to keep coming. You know what I mean? Like,
and they did, because I didn't know for a long time. You didn't.
No, nobody knew.
Sign of any. And when I found out, I was pissed.
Yeah, I remember. You weren't happy with me. You weren't happy with me. You know.
You know, that's why you're here, and that's why we even have the collective, right?
Yeah. Because, and this is a beautiful conversation. Just like I said, I haven't had a chance to talk about that. When I was younger, I remember, you know, we used to get video games as gifts, and we would get like a video game. This is going somewhere. We would get a video game, like, you know, maybe for Christmas, one, and then, or two or three, and then on my birthday in March, and then maybe one other one sometime in October. Okay. And that's what you had to work with for the whole year. You know what I mean? So we're getting a video game, me and my brother, big salute out to my brother, Chris. We're getting video games, and, you know, we're beating these games really fast, and then you don't have anything to play because you don't got another game coming for like 3 months or 6 months or something like that. So what we started doing was putting the game on the hardest level to make it more difficult to beat, to make it last longer. You know what I mean? And I kind of kept that thought process, and I kind of kept that idea throughout life as, okay, TJ, you don't want to beat something on easy. Right. Like, you want to beat it on hard. You know what I mean? And I think really coming back to this kidney situation, it was like, you don't want to just go out and say, hey, I need this, and hope somebody gives it to you. Yeah. You want to beat it on hard. You know what I mean? You want to beat it on, wait a second. So I had to wait this long for this process and I didn't run from the process. I wanted to organically walk through the process. You know what I mean? And that's where the thought process comes from. And it might not always be a good thought process. It might be.
It can be a destructive thought process.
It can be a destructive thought process. Yes. It can be a destructive thought process, but you know, I mean, you don't get stronger if you don't lift weight.
Yeah.
You know, and I think these things that I go through, the things that you go through, the things that we go through in our lives, the difficult things, the things that we might not want to be dealing with, are the things that once we overcome them, we're stronger.
Yeah.
So I didn't want to run from the weight. I didn't want to run from it. So I'm not running from it. I'm walking through it. So everything that's happening is happening while I'm dealing with organ failure for over 2 years.
That's kind of like the Dope Soul Collective. It came after 8 years.
Right.
Walking through brain surgery, septic shock, losing my breath.
Yes.
And you were going through things. We were going through things simultaneously. And it looked easy, right? Because I wasn't complaining. There wasn't whining. There wasn't, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? Right. Somebody help.
Right.
And that's part of the reason that we're even here for the collective, because there's somebody out there right now that's like
going through one of these situations.
And they're like, well, he's like syndicated. He's got it all together. It's all fine. Or she's got a podcast, or she's a life coach. And everything must be fine. Everything must be great and good.
Right.
No, I talked to somebody today about my brain injury and the course that it's taking and how it's reshifting and shaping my life as we speak.
Right.
An hour before I met with you today.
Right. And I remember you telling me those situations and to me, that's mind bending. This is like, golly, like brain surgery, like for me, because those things have never happened to me. I've never not had control of what happens in my head. It's almost like it's difficult for me to fathom how one even deals with that. You know what I mean? It's difficult for me to fathom. I've never had, to deal with like a brain situation. You know what I mean? I was online and I looked and I saw somebody who went blind, for some reason, and not to get into too many details about it, but they were blind. And it's like, that's something that I've never had to deal with, like having to live with no sight. You know what I'm saying? Like even walking through what I walked through, I still have arms. I still have legs. I'm still active. I'm still, able to get up. I still try to exercise almost every day. You know what I mean? So if you saw me, you wouldn't have any idea that I was going through anything, So, but it's a battle. It's a battle. And just like I said, I applaud you for being here, because I remember sitting down and talking to you so many times and you telling me those stories about the septic shock and so many of these issues and having to have surgery after surgery after surgery. And then, I don't even know how to quantify it. I don't even know how to quantify it. But again, I have to applaud you for walking through it. We're here today talking.
That's right. You say walk through it, but I don't know. Sometimes it's like crawling through the glass.
Like a crawl.
You may see me on the Rock the Mic show crying over a goldfish. You see TJ.
Right.
Doing his Radio Supa and everything looks like roses and happiness and all this stuff. And it is happiness in the moment.
Right.
But there's pain behind it too sometimes, and exhaustion.
It's a lot. It's a lot to deal with. Yeah.
And it gets burdensome. So you see it on the front and you're like, oh, well, they've got it all together. Everything's fine. It must be roses. When TJ's over here, like waiting for a kidney on dialysis, which is painful and exhausting from what I understand. Causes a ton of side effects and makes you pretty sick.
Right. Yeah, definitely side effects. Definitely getting stabbed twice, 3 days a week. It's never enjoyable. You know what I mean? You never get past it. I was watching, remember a Wolverine movie where they asked him about his claws and they were like, hey, does that hurt? And he was like, every time I extend them, it hurts.
Right.
It was kind of like that. Every single time it hurts,
It's
but
funny
we're here.
Wolverine, because when I was going through my brain surgeries, like the first 3 or 4 of them, there were certain people that were so convinced that I healed so fast. They used to call me Logan and I was mad as shit. Like, you have no clue.
Right.
Like, underneath these clothes, I look like a damn stabbing victim. Okay. I look like a homicide happened in here.
I'm sure it's not that bad.
It is that bad. It is that bad.
But we're here though.
The breast reconstruction, I barely took a shower for 6 weeks because I couldn't look in the mirror. Meanwhile, everybody's like, that's Wolverine, that's Logan. She feels so fast.
No. There you go. There you go, girl.
Through glass. I'm crawling through glass. That's what I'm doing.
She's crawling through grass. Right.
You know, if I can help somebody else get to the other side, right? And I can have dope souls like you to tell the story.
Right. I'm thinking that you're helping people right now.
Because there's somebody that's like, okay, well, I had septic shock, or I lost my breast, or I had brain surgery, or I'm waiting for a kidney and it's hopeless.
Right.
Meanwhile, TJ is waiting for a kidney for 3 years and syndicated. He's curating a movie. Producing. Was a curator.
Music supervising. Yeah.
Music supervising. Produces, I don't even know how many shows. I lose track because I do follow and pay attention. And there's
it's like 15 right now from all over the world.
And they're remarkable.
Thank you.
Remarkable.
Yeah. I've been lucky enough to work with some great people.
I get to be around TJ fairly regularly, and you would never know. You would never know the struggles that he went through as a single dad.
Right.
Raising this incredible young man who is off the chain and cracks me up all the time. But I love him.
He's good.
He is good. But you're still here.
Yes. Yeah, we're not going anywhere. You know, until it's time to go. But until then, we're not going anywhere.
But there's a message in that too, because you're not sitting there waiting.
No. You know, while I'm here, I'm gonna do what I can do while I'm here.
But why not just sit down and wait? Why not just go, you know, I'm sick and this dialysis really sucks 3 days a week and I can barely eat anything, because I remember those days too. Yeah.
There was there's a passage in the Bible. I don't specifically remember where it was at, but I remember the name of it, and it was the parable of the talents. And it's this parable about where, you know, a master has 3 servants, and he says to one servant, and, you know, talents is interesting because at the time talents meant money, but, you know, with the timelessness of the word, talents could mean talents. Right. So he gave one servant 1 talent, and he gave one servant 2 talents, and he gave one servant 5 talents. Mm-hmm. And he said, okay, I'm going to go away and I want you guys to use the talents I gave you, or, you know, do something with the talents. So the guy who had 5 talents, he made 10 talents out of his 5 talents. He cultivated his talents. And the guy who had 2 talents, he cultivated his talents and made 4 talents. Mm-hmm. And the guy with 1 talent was like, you know what? I'm gonna save my talent, so when the master comes back, I can give him back my talent. Mm-hmm. You know? And then, you know, later the master came back and he saw the guy who had 10 talents that had 5, that he gave 5. And he was like, you know what? I gave you 5 talents and you use your 5 talents to make 10. Yeah. So I want you to come to the kingdom. And then he saw the guy who had 2 talents and made 4. And he said, I saw the 4 talents that you made out of 2. I want you to come to the kingdom. And the guy who had 1 talent said, look, I had this 1 talent that you gave me. I saved it for you. I'm going to give it back. And he was like, you lazy servant. Like, I gave you a talent and you didn't do anything with it. You just sat there and didn't do anything with your talent. So I'm going to take your talent from you and give it to the one who has 10 talents, because he's obviously doing something with his talent. And for me, I've always felt like I'm one of the people he gave 5 talents to. Yeah. So while I'm here, I'm going to cultivate the 5 talents that I have. And he's been making it grow. Yeah.
And then you multiply it with others as well.
And I multiply it with others as well. And, you know, sometimes he sends me on a mission, Trish. Sometimes he sends me on a mission and he says, go help that person. Yeah. And not go help that person because they're going to give you something, or they're going to pay you, or they're going to reward you, or you're even going to be rewarded, or you're going to see anything, or this benefits you in any way. But just go help that person, or go do this for that person. Not even that you're going to receive something back from it, but just go do this for that person.
and obedient to your purpose.
And a lot of the times I'll do that, when I'm in my more mature, more understanding phase, I'll do that. You know what I mean? There's periods now where I'm doing that, so yeah. So that's what it is, because I kind of look at it like, if you think of God and then you think of us, we can compare, I guess, like a grain of sand.
Right.
And truthfully, it's an honor if God says, hey, brown grain of sand, I want you to go help that grain of sand.
Yeah.
It's an honor because he could have picked any other grain of sand. He could have empowered any other grain of sand under the assumption they were using their talents and trying to multiply their talents. He could have picked any other grain of sand to say, go help that other grain of sand. But I feel like he picked me as his grain of sand to say, go help that other grain of sand. And so it's an honor.
Faith, you always have been. Now,
yeah.
I also know that there were some times where it was tested. How did you, when you were really challenged with your faith?
Ooh. Yes. The most recent and I would say the most difficult probably happened about 3 years ago. It happened about 3 years ago, and it was a period. It was a period where, like if we were to say, like, let's say we were going through life and, we went to the coffee shop and somebody yelled at us, hey, 35, 25, 32. And then we were at the store after that and somebody said, hey, you got a free lottery ticket. What numbers do you want? And then you said 35 to 32, whatever. And then 2 days later, you won the lottery. You wouldn't consider that to be a coincidence. You know what I mean? That's like a series of events that kind of happened that put it in your hands. You know what I mean? So, if we have a sequence of events that occurs and it's good, we normally attribute those things to, God or the universe or however you guys look at it, something came to me to give me this. You know what I'm saying? Which is beautiful. This was the opposite. This was a sequence of events that would occur that would cause something negative to happen in my life. And this went on for a long time.
Wow.
And it also happened at a point where, because of the nature of I'm trying not to call it a test, but I can't figure out a better way to describe it. But because of the nature of the test, at a loss for a better way to describe it, because of the nature of the test, he wasn't responding to me either. Yeah. He wasn't talking to me, and I've, for years had over decades, at least a decade or more than a decade. I've had some form of communication with God that usually grew and got stronger, based on the time that I spent with him. Our communication got better, to where it wasn't a blurry answer. It was a direct answer, but he stopped talking to me. It would be like, almost like if you lived in the house with a parent and everything was good or getting better for, 8 years, and then they just stop responding to you.
Yeah.
And they don't talk to you, and you see them and you talk to them and they hear you, but they just don't respond to you. And that's what it was like. And this period went on for about 2 years, where I guess every aspect of my life was tested, like health wise, that's probably when this, organ situation began, or I was dealing with some other, other physical situation, health situation, finances, everything went crazy. Everything went berserk. And it was a really difficult period. I remember reading, Job, and, how he went through these difficult situations. And at the end of it, though, what he did was even though everything was happening, even though he didn't understand why it was happening, even though it was very difficult for him to deal with, and the people around him were like, yo, you need to curse God. God is, he ain't listening. All these things, like the one thing that I believe that I remember him doing was never letting go of God. He always held on to God, and I think that's what I tried to focus on in that situation, and this is after a myriad of other stuff that's happened, years and years ago. But this most recent one was was don't, like, whatever it is, I love God. No matter what happens, I love God. If my life falls apart, if I become homeless, I love God. And I had to really focus on that. And I think that was a really big lesson, because ultimately, you know, wherever God might take you in your life, the ultimate idea is at the end of the day, you always want to be connected to God. It might seem bad. We got to remember there's something after this. You know what I mean? So it might seem bad, but maybe what you're going through is supposed to be bad because it's supposed to help somebody, or it's supposed to touch somebody. What Joe went through was really bad, but his life wasn't bad for him. It was bad for the 1 trillion people who read that story after him.
Right.
You know what I mean? So Job had to go through what Job had to go through so he could be in a book 2,000 years later. So we could all read it. So we could read it and say, okay, now this is happening in my life. So I know how to deal with it, or I have a better idea of how to deal with these situations because of what Job went through. And he didn't know that what he went through was going to end up in a book 2,000 years later. You don't know that what you walked through isn't going to end up in a book 2,000 years later. Like, well, this was my servant Trish, and it was really difficult for her. But you know what? She loved God. And there were times where she was mad at me. There were times where she yelled at me and we had arguments, but she loved me though. You know what I mean? And of course you're going to get mad at God if you don't know why something crazy is happening, or you lose a kid, or a part of your body comes off, or it's not working, or you lose your job. Of course you're going to get mad. You're going to get mad. But the thing is, at the end of the day, like, you love them, and there's a reason you're walking through those things. And it might be to be in a book to help 1 trillion other people 2,000 years from now.
Yeah.
It's with
that story, because when I was going through my stuff, I can't tell you how many people were like, read the book of Job. And I was like, look, I'm not trying to have double what I had before. I just want him to leave me alone.
Right.
Okay. Stop messing with me. I don't want to be cut no more. I don't want to be sick. I'm not going to do it. And finally, on the other side, when there was a sliver of light, there was a little bit more light, then there was a little bit of light. It was like, okay, I know that you didn't want it, right? I know you cussed me and you yelled, you screamed and did all that shit that you did.
Yeah.
Cussing at me, and you don't want to be Job, and you're not going to pick it up.
Right.
I'm going to give you a house anyway.
There you go.
I'm going to give you a house anyway.
It's a beautiful house.
Then I'm going to have you do this podcast so you can tell somebody else
this interesting story.
Story about how, how TJ was like, okay, I'm going to keep following and you're cussing me out, but I'm going to bless you.
It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. And I was, I never got to the point of cussing him out, but I was mad.
Yeah.
I was mad. There was like, what? Why? I was so angry. There was times I was so angry, and going through that situation was so significant, because I think the only thing that I know that I got right probably the whole time is that I was able to love God through everything.
Yeah.
And I feel like if that was the only thing I got right, that may have been the most significant thing, because, we're here. You look at somebody like Martin Luther King. Martin Luther King, his life would have been real easy if he just stayed wherever he was at and watched TV.
Yeah.
His life would have been real easy. You know what I mean? He wouldn't have been getting rocks thrown at him.
Yeah.
He wouldn't have been getting shot at. He wouldn't have been getting spit on. He wouldn't have been getting punched. You gotta, wait, hold on. You gotta turn the other cheek. Don't hit that guy back. You gotta turn the other cheek. That guy just spit on you. Don't, like, if that happens today, we're probably hands across America. That's just real life. You know what I mean? But like his life would have been real easy. But the thing was, he had a mission to complete, and him completing that mission literally affected the lives of not just, but I could say at least every single person today with any sort of pigmentation in their skin color. and even greater than that. But if nothing else, at least my entire life is better because of what he did.
Yeah. And
because he did what he was supposed to do. You know what I mean? So it may be that someone's life is better because you do what you're supposed to do. And someone's life is better because I did what I was supposed to do. And that may not necessarily have been of benefit to me.
Right.
But it was what I was supposed to do, because maybe what I was supposed to do is greater than the idea that I feel really cozy and comfortable right now.
That's why I coach. Because I can help somebody because of me being obedient to my purpose. And
you walk through what you walk through.
But I have a question for you.
I'm ready for. Trish, I'm ready for all the smoke today.
And I'm here for it. But
you can ask me whatever you want to ask me, and I'm answering the question.
And all of it, you continue to love God.
Yes. And after that,
how did you do at continuing to love yourself?
Yeah, I'm okay. I got to a point where, in my head, I have this idea for if I'm working on something, I want to work on it, till I know it's good. So let's say you play basketball and you know that you're out shooting when nobody else is at the park. You're out playing, practicing when nobody else is. You're hitting the 3-pointer a lot. You start to get to a point where you understand that you're good at whatever that is. You know what I mean? Whatever it is that you do that you're good at. And I think I spend a lot of time, I say inside, like not out partying or not out running around or not out doing a whole bunch of crazy stuff. I really spend a lot of time in my life working on becoming good to the point where I'm happy with myself. So I know that if I'm working on something, I know it's good. And that's not to say that you can't find something better on earth. That's just to say that if you look at what's happening or whatever it is I'm touching, I'm going to do it well because I'm going to focus on doing it well. You know what I mean?
And you're multiplying your talents.
Yeah. So that's kind of where the self-love came from. It took a long time because I had to stay in the oven a long time to cultivate things. I remember being an intern and not even dating for 2 years because I was an intern, and I'm like, okay, I really need to focus on getting this right to a point where I feel like, okay, TJ, you're good. You know what I mean? Not like I'm just an intern and I'm going to go. It's just, I work on myself a lot. I work on myself and I really work on trying to be a good human and good at the things that I'm doing. So I think once you get there, then I think it's easier to love yourself if you spend time working on getting yourself to a place where you're happy with you.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's okay to stay in the oven,
It takes a lot to stay home, to stay alone with you. I think a lot of people with COVID actually just went into shock.
Yeah.
One thing I tell my clients pretty regularly is that, we all get up, we get dressed, and we don't even look at ourselves in the mirror.
Right.
Yeah. But when you really sit and face yourself and you ask yourself, am I doing something worthwhile? Am I living up to my own expectations or to the hopes and dreams or talents that the Most High has given me?
Right.
It is not an easy place to go. It is challenging.
No. Right. And I can imagine that it is. There's two things that help me with that. One of the things is that, and I mean, it wouldn't make sense necessarily to you just because we have in-depth conversations and I speak to you, but I'm fairly antisocial. So outside of individuals that I'm having regular conversations with or individuals that I might speak to and find something that I really find interesting and connect and have that conversation, I'm antisocial. Like, so it might be that I'm having a conversation with you, not even in interview format, just in front of you. And you might see it happen. You probably have seen it happen.
Yes.
And my phone will go off and I'll be like, without even looking at the phone, like, what do you want from me? Yeah. You know what I mean? Because Absolutely. Whatever was happening was I'm in my mind and I'm having that conversation with you, and whatever's happening, whatever message or situation came through, it slightly interrupted the conversation or the mindset that I was having with you. And it might be somebody that's important to me, you know, and that's not to say that there's something wrong with them. It's just that's where my mind works. The second thing is I kind of live in my mind. Like I refer back to Cat Williams telling this joke one time where he said he was talking about, you know, how, you know, we, you know, brothers, we want our car to look nice. So we go get the new rims and get all this other stuff. And then we get inside the car and we're driving the car and we can't even see the car, what the car looks like from the outside. So we got to drive up to the dude at the bus stop and roll down the window and be like, yo, hey, yo, look at my car. Does my car look fresh? And the guy at the bus stop has to give us a thumbs up. Right. Because we can't see the car. We're in the car. So I kind of lived a lot of my life inside the car. Yeah. So I don't necessarily look at it from the outside. I kind of am in the car, you know, because I need to make sure the car is running well. Yes. So the car might be running well to a point where it's running better than I imagine it is. So I might. The light isn't outside the car. It's in the car. My life is in the car. I have to make the car run. You know, somebody's got to make the car run. You know what I'm saying? So I live inside of the car and not necessarily outside of the car. So usually what happens is the car on the outside looks nicer than I think it does because I'm inside the car. Yeah. So like, you know, when we talk about 95 stations, like, I'm like, that's amazing. But really in my head, it's like, TJ, you're not on 100 yet. I know it looks nice. You know what I mean? But in my mind, I'm still working on building this thing. You know, there's still resources that I have that I haven't even touched yet because I haven't even used them yet. You know what I mean? And so there's a lot of things that are still happening, and there's probably a lot more things that you're going to see coming from me in the next few months. I was going to say years, but I don't even think it's going to take that long. In the next few months, I guess I'm almost flexing my muscles right now. Yeah. Yeah. One thing I don't want the collective to miss is the self-care note that you just made. If you come across TJ, it seems as though he is this social butterfly. And even me, like being on this podcast, you would think that, right, you know, we're some kind of social butterflies, and I'd rather be sitting outside under my bonsai tree than being anybody. But, you know, he mentioned that even having his show on 95 stations and hosting, I don't know how many events. Yeah. Access to him is not open. It's not completely open to just anybody. No. And being able to shut down and be present with people that are important and build close relationships, or just silence the noise long enough to be inside of yourself or inside of yourself. Right. Is a form of self-care. We live in this society where, you know, everybody's giving full access of themselves and telling on themselves and everything else. And really limiting access to you, to your emotions, to your life, to what's dear to you is a very important form of self-care. True. Very true. You're right. Access to me is, I mean, you can find me on all social media platforms. I'm usually available. Access to me started to get real small, and then I kind of had to back it up. Yeah. I remember watching like one of my favorite actors on TV, and he was talking about social media today. And he said, like, you know, it's not like it was before. It's like, you know, in 2000s now. And you know, people want to touch you. They want to reach you. So you'll have to respond on social media and stuff like that. Access for me, like I'd say maybe a year and a half ago, it got really small. You almost had to either have done work with me before, or you had to be coming through somebody on my team. You know what I mean? And I had to roll that back a little bit. You know, I'd get messages and just not even respond to them if it didn't look like it made sense. And then, you know, social media today, you get a lot of weird messages anyway. You know, they're not always genuine messages. You know, somebody wants you to buy some crypto or
give you a free iPhone.
A free iPhone. Yeah, I got that a couple of times. So, you know, so of course we have to filter out a lot of those messages. But I've been trying to be a little bit more open. So usually, you know, if somebody hits me, then I'll try to at least respond the first time.
Yeah.
And then whatever the next message is probably going to depend on how far our conversation goes. If it's not like
delete or keep it going. Yeah.
Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, okay, like, you know, if it's like, hi, and I'm like, hi, the next message is like, you know, please use that message wisely. Just use the message or something significant, not just, how you doing? Because I probably won't respond to that. You know what I'm saying? So.
That's like me with a brain injury. You got about 15 seconds.
There you go. You sound like the A&R listening to the demo tape.
I'm just like, oh, never mind.
Yeah, that's it.
It's a waste of brain space, and I don't have any to lose. Oh.
Too serious. Too serious about that.
The prognosis was you have 3 to 5 years. I'm 8 years in the game.
So she's on top of this.
There's no brain cells to waste. Speaking of, like, you can be found on social media, where is it one would find you?
I would say the easiest place to find me probably is TJ Supa on Instagram. Okay. You can also find me at TJ Supa on Facebook. I'm on Facebook. There's 2 pages. Just go to the TJ Supa page. Like, I made the TJ Supa page because the other one got full. So just go there. You know what I mean? TJ Supa across the board. You can find me. You should be able to find me on any social media platforms. I will probably respond fastest on Instagram or on Facebook. I'll probably respond the fastest.
And he's got the whole website behind him, but he can't see it because he's in the car.
Yeah.
You can go to radiosupa.com and
radiosupa.com.
Well, correct?
Yes, right. Radiosupa.com. I apologize. I left out so much stuff. Radio Supa, you can also find me there. Sometimes my team responds from that. So again, if you're looking for me directly, hit TJ Supa. But if you're looking for the organization, hit Radio Supa and we'll respond to you from there. Or hit Rock the Mic Show across the board, just like that. Same thing, Twitter, all that other stuff. You guys can find me there. I don't think I'm really difficult to find, to locate. Like he's, you know what I mean? Like he's there. I know he's behind that social media. You know what I mean? Getting him to respond might be a little different, but that's where he's at though. I'm there. I'm at that place. I'm at TJ Supa.
And if you want to see like the one time that I was blessed and fortunate to be on the Rock the Mic Show, it is actually on this channel. Be sure to find it and connect with the Rock the Mic Show.
It was a beautiful episode.
And cry at the commercials like I did. And he didn't bring me Kleenex.
I didn't. I apologize. I didn't know it was going to evoke that kind of emotion with the fish.
It was deep.
Right.
I'm okay.
You're okay. Good. Good.
What do you want to leave the collective with?
This has been a beautiful interview. It's been an honor to be on your show. I'm going to go back and watch the interview like I didn't know who the guy was that was on the show, just because it was really interesting. And I left a lot of things on the table here that I have not talked about in any interviews before. You guys have an excellent host. You know what I mean? And I hope I was able to leave you guys with something that helps you take a step forward or overcome something or gives you something to think about to move forward. You know what I mean? I hope I was able to leave you a gem.
You left several.
I hope that I was able to.
Being obedient to your purpose.
Yeah.
Walking through your process.
Yeah.
Helping who you can along the way. Listening to that little voice inside. There were several gems.
Yeah. I wanna throw this out there too. And not in terms of me, but just in terms of the processes that we walk through. People ask me how I'm doing right now. They're like, TJ, how are you doing? And keep in mind, this includes everything that's happening in terms of organ failure. But, and I tell them, I feel like I've been on a 2 or 3 year win streak.
Yeah.
And it's because so many things have been happening by chain reaction. The phone will go off and it will be some amazing situation or some crazy things. And this stuff is happening on a week does not go by where something crazy or something beautiful happens. A week doesn't go by. And I wanted to leave with that because before that period was the difficult period that I walked through with everything crashing and making sure that I loved God and making sure that whatever happened, I love God. And I feel like I would not deserve this period had I not been able to get through the period of saying, if everything in my life falls apart, I still love God.
Yes.
And I believe that this is I don't want to say reward, I don't want to say that, but this is the after effect of what happens when you're able to get to a place of, okay, God, it's all you.
Yeah.
And so I have to give this 3-year win streak to him. And this occurred after everything fell apart. So even if everything is falling apart, you guys, even if you're going through a very long, difficult situation, it's not the end. There's something happening after that. So just roll with God and I hope I was able to leave something.
And I'm going to leave with multiply your talent. Just because you're going through some real stuff doesn't mean that talent is dormant or dead.
Right.
Do what you can with it, with the energy that you still have.
Right.
And
right.
I thank TJ for being part of the collective, the Dope Soul Collective, because he is a huge reason why we are here. He helps me a lot and inspires me very much. Y'all make sure you follow him. Radio Supa, TJ Supa, Rock the Mic Show, and there's like 19 others that you're going to have to catch later. But that's our time. TJ, thank you.
Again, it was my honor to be here. Thank you, Trish, for inviting me, and salute out to all the viewers, all the listeners, everybody out there plugged in with the show.